award-winning national security, border security investigative reporter for TV, radio, and the print media. And Kimberly has covered the news with an outside-the-beltway perspective. Her experience as an investigative journalist ranges from national security issues like Gitmo's Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 9/11 trial, immigration, foreign policy issues. She's a TV correspondent, CW6 News San Diego, as well as One America News Network. And her website is thekdreport.com. Kimberly, are you reporting from New York today?
No, we're back in Washington, D.C. now.
A short plane trip. Boy, you were up on the Empire State Building and going up and down the elevators, and I mean, my goodness, all kinds of stuff. Was there a roller derby there or something?
No roller derby. Just going to New York to, hang with my family a little bit and sneak out of the city for a few days.
There you go. Well, hey, you deserve it, Well, I'll tell you, the latest report from Kimberly, is voter fraud real? Can it happen in the United States? And you know what? It really gets down to, sometimes I guess modern technology might not be the best solution, as we'll find out. And you start this out, very interesting. If citizens commit a felony, they forfeit their right to vote. Now, are you talking about law or the way it should be?
No,
because I'm wondering about the law because New York, the guys letting them out so they can vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends. I mean, these could be misdemeanors for people that the state of New York may be letting out. But if you commit a felony in the majority of states, you have to serve not only your time behind bars, but you also have to complete your probation. So you're seeing now a lot of people that don't know that or choose not to know that, and they're going out and voting. However, that's not necessarily the biggest part of this story. It's just the fact that, most people don't realize that when you commit a felony, you lose the right to vote. And we can look to Dinesh D'Souza, who was railroaded by the Obama administration. No doubt he was railroaded. And the one thing that he fought for, and I used to work for him, the one thing he really fought for was when he came to America, the idea of voting for the government to decide how he would be governed was a huge issue. And he fought and spent a lot of money to, regain his right to vote, because when he was convicted, that's the one thing he lost. So I think that kind of gets lost on some of this, because a lot of people really want to vote. And then you have people who, not necessarily in favor with the Obama administration. They just simply wanted to get rid of, the competition, and they thought that they could intimidate Dinesh D'Souza, and they couldn't intimidate him. He's stronger and more powerful than he ever was. Yeah.
Obama didn't like his unflattering descriptions of the President of the United States. He stepped over the line because he was saying he does this and he does that. Boy, and if that were really the case, if Trump wasn't Obama, look at all the people that would be in jail right now for bad-mouthing the president.
Yeah, well, it's also a fact, too, that, you're seeing people, that Dinesh D'Souza actually went to Kenya to go, interview, Obama's family. And, the years since, he's actually sent money to Obama's relatives so they could have medical procedures done. And, the former president of the United States refused to help his family, at least in some capacity here. And I think that, this is the idealism of America and what we look for. We look to our, presidents and to our legislators as they should be, looking out for the best interests of the United States. And, we get that representation through the power of our vote at the ballot box.
You know what, and we're going to get into more about the ballot box. And, of course, I refer to the cockroaches that are coming out now about, this letter where all these Democrats are saying, you can't order the Justice Department to classify all these documents. Oh, yeah, of course. They are running scared today.
Yeah.
We're going to continue, and we're going to get more into the case of voter fraud and how much it's increasing across the country, more than you probably realize. We're going to be right back with the one and only Kimberly Dvorak, and it's the KD Report
And I'm streaming live. I'm streaming live.
Voter fraud real? Can it happen in the U.S.? And I have a report I got yesterday, Kimberly, or the day before, from frequent guest Mike Cutler. Over August 27th this year, 19 foreign nationals were indicted for illegally voting in the 2016 election.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's just the tip of the iceberg. It's so easy, apparently, on your report you say that election tampering, especially when it comes to computers, right?
Yeah.
You have this who's this German-born hacker you talked to?
Yeah, well, the thing is that the last couple of years, an organization called DEF CON, and this happened to be like a voting village, where they're called white hat hackers, where, you know, the government and, you know, they come in and they try to hack certain systems, you know, to assist the federal government in safeguarding whatever information is on a computer or a election machine, electronic device, what have you. So the last 2 years they've had this, and they're currently working on it again this year, and they have demonstrated how easy it is to hack into election electronic machines, and that it really just takes minutes, because most of these machines are either using a Wi-Fi and or have an IP address, and with those two things in connection, anybody can hack into the system who knows how to do this type of hacking, and they can change the results, they can erase the results, they can add results. And these are, you know, and this will actually kind of, you know, this is going to, you know, go at the underlying current here that, you know, the Democrats are kind of trying to say that, you know, voter integrity is at stake here. Well, if voter integrity was at stake, why aren't they cooperating and putting money aside and ensuring that our elections are actually tamper-free? And the best way to do that, believe it or not, is to go back to paper balloting, and people need to, you know, keep a copy of how they voted, and everybody always gives you that little receipt at the end with a number on it. You need to keep that stuff. But the only way to ensure that you have a relatively tamper-free election is to go back to the paper balloting where people actually hand this in. But with today's media, they want results yesterday, and it's a lengthy process, and it would take time to do this. It could take weeks to do this.
Jeanette Manfra, in your report, she's the Department of Homeland Security cyber security official, says that the Trump administration is taking the threat seriously.
Yeah.
You recall I think his name was Nelson, running for office in Florida.
Yep,
and
Bill.
He was a Democrat, and I'm sorry?
Bill Nelson.
Bill Nelson. Yeah, and you know, and he was crying that they were hacking in Florida already before the election, and people were saying, no, we've already looked into it, and it's not happening, and you're just trying to make up an excuse when you lose, which he did, I guess. But
yeah.
Do you think the guy's really onto something, or just, you know, shouting fire in the theater?
Well, I think in his case, I mean, and I don't know, you know, exactly what he's referring to, and I'm not certain that what he was alleging was actually taking place. I haven't seen him out advocating for the federal government to put more money into this program to ensure that the electronic voting method is more secure. You haven't seen him do this. And I mean, a couple of weeks back, we spent an entire segment discussing this, and it was from the perspective of a former CIA contractor who has held that he's hacked into, and the intel communities, U.S. intel communities, have hacked into the entire state of Florida and took information off of it, changed votes and whatnot, and then put it back onto the, you know, Florida election sites. And that's, you know, I mean, he has evidence to corroborate that. He's won some lawsuits. He's in the process of being heard again. He wants to testify before Congress again, and, you know, let people know just how easy it is to do something like this. But you know, what you typically get on the other side is, you know, the Democrats are like you said, oh, well, there were 16 cases or 19 cases of people in New York. That's hardly going to change the election. But those are 19 that we actually caught. How many didn't get caught? So.
Yep. And in your report, you say there's 14 states that are struggling to replace outdated voting machines that lack paper trails before the next presidential election. And people, they're in a hurry. You know what it is?
Yeah.
Because you say Richard Phillips, I guess it was, fraud investigator, said the solution, paper ballots, counted by hand, in full public view at the polling place on election night. But here's the kicker, Steve, no matter how long it takes.
Exactly.
And I agree. You know, don't keep doing the ones where you punch the little hose, because we went through that in Florida, you know, hanging chad. Simply, you know, the black marker and connect the two dots that are going to show the dummies, I guess, who you're voting for.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's something that, you know, this country, it's you know, one of our bedrock, you know, issues that this country, you know, we are able to have free and open and fair elections. And, you know, it's something that when other countries form or they go through a civil war and they form a new country in and of itself, it's something that we actually demand that those countries put in place as they move forward. And an example is Afghanistan. And you see when people went to the, you know, the voting booth, they actually put their finger in ink that stained their finger for days. So they couldn't go back in and vote for a family member or vote again for any.
Kimberly, they also do that in Mexico, the ink. And they also, you have to show a ID from your voting district, all right? And each person's name is listed on there, all right? So you got the ID, your name is on the list, and you have the ink. That's in Mexico.
Yeah. Well, and I think here, you know, the United States, I mean, certain states have passed voter ID laws. ACLU and others are trying to overturn those in the courts. I don't think they're going to find friendly judges too much longer for this issue. And I think that the American people understand if they want to vote that there are certainly, you know, parameters for them to vote, and they, you know, we all have to have an ID. If you walk into a federal building, get on, you know, an airplane or any number of issues. I mean, you can't not have ID.
Library. Check out a book.
Yeah. So I mean, I was just going to say, the argument that minorities and people who are not, you know, financially able can't have an ID. Well, did they go to high school? Did they go to, you know, middle school? They all have IDs to do that as well. So I don't think anybody's like saying that you need to have like a passport to do something like this. You just simply need to prove with a picture who you actually are. And I think now, you know, maybe after the break maybe we talk about it now, but Sweden has had tremendous problems in their recent election with people coming in, multiple people in the voting booth, you know, telling family members what to vote for, how many times they vote. And they had, you know, the number is staggering. 40% of the voters, you know, they found in all of these different precincts, they found voter fraud in 40% of their voting precincts. That's an incredible number for an incredibly small country.
Yeah, I had Alex Newman on the other day, the New American, and he was there covering the election you were talking about, and very bad stuff going on there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's amazing how they do stuff right in front of people. You know, they pick up the envelopes and carry them off and threaten the people right out in front of everybody, and it's crazy. You know, also, and we'll stay on Sweden in a minute, but if you're in the United States, okay, and you're an illegal alien and you claim that you're a United States citizen, well, then that's a violation of 18 U.S. Code 911. So you'll remember that 911 because, you know, the 19 hijackers that had all fake IDs and stuff. Amazing.
Well, and, you know, in this day and age, I mean, if you go and you get a new driver's license, I mean, your driver's license has a chip in it. It's got biometrics in it. If you're in your car and you're driving, most likely the police officer who, if you are pulled over, they already know who you are. They know if you have any outstanding warrants, and they know this just because of your driver's license. And you know, when you cross the border from Tijuana into San Diego and you have the, you know, passport card, before you enter the building, they've already scanned that card, even though it's in your wallet. they have that capability to do something like that. And that's an effort to keep this country safe. And I think that, with everybody saying that they want a fair and safe election, they don't want Russia tampering, they don't want any of these issues, then let's just go back to the paper ballots, which a number of people, left and right, think we ought to do. It's going to be a more timely process, no doubt, but it will be a safer and more secure process in the end. And we will, the American people can go to sleep at night going, you know what? Okay, well, we gave it a shot. Our guy lost or our guy won. How exciting. Yay. It may take a day. It could take 2 weeks. But I just think that, with all of the Russia meddling and all of these issues out there, these 14 states who do not have these updated machines, and who knows if the updated machines are withstanding the hacking, which a lot of them are not. How are we going to prove that we've had a fair and safe and, meddle-free election coming up here in November?
Yep. And it's interesting, also in that Swedish election, Kimberly talks about there was this guy, he offered 3,000 votes to the moderate party, and it was a local Muslim leader. They were going to give them 3,000 votes in exchange for a construction permit to build a mosque. I would call that a bribe.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not apparently now those things are acceptable. I mean, I'm joking, of course, when I say something like that, but that also, again, is going to, come at the election integrity. And again, American people, they're starting to doubt what the FBI and CIA and other intel communities and other bureaucracies are doing in this country. If we don't have an election system in place where American citizens feel secure that when they vote, their vote matters, that's going to be probably one of the last things that's going to break down in the rule of law. And then we're going to, head towards more of an anarchy type thing with whoever is able to, hack into the election the best. Their guys will be, or gals will be elected to Congress, states, governors, whatever the election position may be.
And back to your report here, Social Democrat politician allegedly offered to pay voters 500 Swedish krona, I guess, Krona.
Yep.
That's $55 American money in exchange for their vote. Mm-hmm. And one that I really related to here, the Social Democrat politicians allegedly helped voters fill in their ballot. And, that happens in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say that it was the first year of Obama, where they were going to nursing homes and saying, if you're not able to we can't take you there. They even offered to do that, of course. But it was the other thing was, we'll fill out your ballot for you. Yeah, that's the service that we're going to do for you because,
Yeah.
There's so many ways to get around it, and that would even be paper,
Yeah. But it's something that in the end, Chuck, if we have a paper trail on this, it's something that, say, if it's close, they can pull some of these, ballots out that they're not certain because maybe it happened at a nursing home, maybe it happened at, an inner city school or something like that. They can actually come, get that information, say, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to talk to these people and see who if they, their vote was recorded appropriately. And so, I mean, again, something with the electronic method we're not going to get, but with a paper method, they can. And we've seen all of these primaries this year across the country. How many were decided by, a handful of votes, one way or the other? So it's really important.
The last one was with Ohio, the last election in Ohio.
Yeah.
That thing was running down to, 24 votes or something.
Yeah, 100%. And this is an issue. And I think that it's an issue that, Americans should be, concerned about. And I think that if you're voting and you're going to the ballot box or you're mailing it in, if you're legal and lawful and you're ready to do this, I mean, that's what we want in this country. We want everybody 100% participation here. And we don't necessarily get that anywhere near that in this country, which is a shame. But I think just because over the last few decades, American voters, my daughter included, said, you know what, my vote doesn't count. Why should I be voting? And so you have that because then you see these parties meddling, saying, well, we want our establishment guy in, or we want our establishment gal in, when there's somebody who's running against them that could be a good candidate, but the parties put all their weight behind the incumbents. So I think that what you're seeing with younger people is they're going, why should I vote? It just doesn't matter. and I'm not going to waste my time and go wait in line to vote.
Yeah, man, with the cyber things, we know that the Chinese hacked the Pentagon, and you sure didn't hear too much about that. And then all this stuff going on with Russia, we know they hacked, I guess it was the DNC, and then we have China, reading Hillary's email, not Hillary, but Feinstein's emails.
I was just going
Hillary,
I was just going to say, though, that the Intel community and other people have already come out and said that it wasn't Russia that hacked into our elections and hacked into the DNC. It was China. So, there you have it.
Then the other thing, okay, so we had the new Black Panther Party intimidating voters in Philadelphia when Obama was running. And now you wonder with even the midterm elections, and especially on the 2020 presidential elections, you think what are those demonstrators called? Oh boy, got a mental break there. It's starts with an N, boy.
I don't know what you're talking about. Can't help you out. Sorry.
Anyway, there's these anarchists, that are out there right now and intimidating everybody.
Antifa.
It'll come to me later.
Antifa?
I'm sorry?
Antifa?
Antifa. Thank you. I knew it started with an A. That's why I said N. Antifa. All right. Just in time to save me a little bit, it's time for a break. Kimberly Dvorak is my guest. The website, thekdreport.com. That's thekdreport.com. And it's Kimberly Dvorak, D-V-O-R-A-K. We're going to be right back. Everybody's talking. CRN Wilder, CRN, with my guest Kimberly Dvorak, the award-winning National Security Border Security Investigative Reporter. And, it's kind of interesting in this report you have where it's talking about these in Sweden again, where workers were advised the voters not to seal their ballot envelopes.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way to take out the old and put in the new, huh?
It is. Exactly. Again, this is going to come down to, the American people demanding that we have safe and secure and fair elections, and that their vote is actually going to count. And there are very simple ways to do this, and that's just if you're mailing it in, you seal it up and you send it back, and make sure that I think a lot of kids. There was a story out yesterday that college kids were saying that they couldn't mail in their ballots because they didn't have a stamp to put on the on the paper ballot. Put post office. Let's pay for that. I'll pay for that. Let's all pay for people to mail in their election decision.
Wow, you can almost just make it where you don't have to, pay. If the government would just say, no, this is an absolutely free stamp,
Yeah.
And it should be done that way. But they always come up with so many excuses, And right now, I'm sure that most of the people, Kimberly, are saying, we are so far in computers. Why do you have to take this giant step backwards? There's got to be a way to tell if you're being hacked or not. Well, if you own a computer, you do find out. Yeah, it's a big risk to the screen turns red, says you had it or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think too that what most people need to be concerned about, and this is the topic I'm going to be talking with the RNC, a group in San Diego next month, is the voter integrity. The big issue here is going to be who can hack into the elections. We've discussed this, I believe, for about an hour, maybe 4 weeks ago, about a former CIA contractor who admitted that the Intel communities were going in, and he admitted that he went into Florida and they took all the voting rolls off and they put it back in and changed people's votes so their guy or gal would win. So, I mean, if we can do this via the internet, and these computer generated, or these electronic voting machines actually have Wi-Fi connection with IP addresses, and we know that people can hack into them because we know that at the DEF CON convention in August, 2 years consecutively, we know that they're hacking into these electronic voting machines. Why are we still using electronic voting machines? Where are the Democrats saying, you know what, we want to make sure Trump doesn't win, so we're going to go back to the paper ballot because we know that's the easiest way to get around this issue. And, I mean, you're not hearing any Democrats come out and talk about it. I mean, there's a handful, but not many.
And like I mentioned before, the paper ballot, that had to go all the way to the Supreme Court on Florida, and the hanging chads, and wow.
Yeah,
that
Sharpie.
Else,
Sharpie. That's what we do, Sharpie.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see it that way. And sometimes also when you do the absentee ballot, it's very depressing when they've already announced the winner and you figure, well, I dropped off my absentee ballot.
Yeah.
So how in the heck did he win? I didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
So anyway, hey, Kimberly, running out of time here. So welcome back. And were you on Facebook today?
Yes, I was. I am on Facebook Live. I've got people on my screen.
Boy, I'll tell you.
Hi, viewers.
It's just, okay. Pardon me. So we'll do it again next week, lady. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. And it's bkdreport.com, and it's Dvorak, Dvorak. All right.